Hey everyone, it's Strange Michael. I hope you're doing well today. I have another review for a Nightmare on Elm Street film. This is part 5 at Nightmare on Elm Street 5, The Dream Child. Like I said, part 4 and part 5's titles, Dream Master, Dream Child. Part 3's title, Dream Warriors. All those things get confused in my head, as much of a fan as I am about the series. So, Nightmare on Elm Street 5 came out in 1989. It's directed by Stephen Hopkins, who directed Predator 2. I'm not a big fan of Predator 2. But this film I really like quite a bit. I think it picks up the ball, especially the leftover survivors from Part 4. It really, to me, it isn't as good as Part 4, but it's good. It's really solid. I really like it. I know it's kind of a weird, controversial thing, but I love most of these movies. I have a nice, nostalgic part of my heart that goes out to my love for these movies, where I used to rent them constantly from Hollywood Video from about the age of 10 or 11 onwards. I love them. They're fun, they're creative. There's something about the atmosphere to these. Even in the worst of the series, like Freddy's Dead, they have that creativity, really taken care of there. The slower films, like New Nightmare, really still manage to keep that a lot of the time, There's so many benefits to the series. There are things about these movies that I love dearly. There are mistakes and issues and problems, behind the scenes issue, budget cuts. Part 4 had budget cuts. This film may or may not. It doesn't feel like it the way Part 4 does at times. But I don't think it's as good as Part 4, in my personal opinion. It's one of those ones like right on that level with Part 2 for me. Maybe a little bit underneath, I'm not really sure. But anyway, Part 5, what is this film about? Well, Lisa Wilcox, who played Alice in the previous film, comes back with her boyfriend, who I think is named Dan. And in the opening credits of this movie, they are doing the dirty, and she gets pregnant. And apparently Freddy is entering the dreams, kind of her dreams, but more of her unborn child's dreams. There's some very interesting things to say about pregnancy in this movie. I really like that. I really love that and honor that a lot about this movie. Really cool things with that. Robert Englund once again comes back as Freddy. He's fantastic, as always. Why would he not be? He's always good. And this film goes really into a lot of lore about Freddy Krueger and about how he came to be what he is. More things about his mother, different things about that. Things that I think we briefly touched on in Part 4. I watched these about a month ago in a marathon, so I can't entirely remember what was said in Part 4, but I know there were pieces of his life put into Part 4. Part 5 really goes into that a little bit more, I think, and more of a satisfying way to compare to like Freddy's Dead. If you've seen that, you know where I'm talking about with that. So, this movie, it's a little bit of a weird imbalance, but I think that creativity for this movie is really what saves it. Yes, it doesn't have the best storyline. Yes, it's kind of a little meandering at times. I like the cast of kids. I think they all do well. I like that Lisa Wilcox has more to do here. All the traits that she had of her friends from the previous film, which, mind you, in Part 4, every time somebody died, their like spirit or traits or whatever went into her. Then she would adapt things like smoking, karate, things like that. All those things are gone at the end of that movie, and in this film they're gone too, but she seems like a better character than she was in Part 4. I like her performance better, I like the directing for her better, so Stephen Hopkins improved on some things that Part 4 has issues with, even though I like that movie more than this one, as I've said. Dana's cool. There's some really horrific stuff in this movie, I'll be honest with you. There is some stuff that really gets to me, some stuff that I find extremely gruesome about this. Some kills are just absolutely weird and exotic and brutal. And do I love them? Absolutely. As a sicko, I love them deeply. So there's some great stuff here. There's so much insanity to it, there's no words for it. The soundtrack isn't as good as Part 4. That's one thing I will say. There is some good music in here there at times, but it's fine compared to Part 4. This is a good flick. I like it. I can rewatch it constantly. Up to about this point, and then skipping the next couple of films, up to Freddy vs. Jason and so on, are kind of the more rewatchable movies for me. This first 5 I really love in a lot of ways. I could watch them over and over again. I pretty much have all of my life since I got into them back in the day with my mom. This film, it looks better in some respects compared to Part 4 in the cinematography route, some of the sets, and other times some of the cinematography and sets kind of look a little bit cheaper. I know that I keep saying it looks better budget-wise. Seems like they had less of a crisis. I don't think there was another writing strike going on when this movie came out or when this film was in production, so it kind of helped it a little bit more not being in such a crisis at the time. But regardless of all the things that I brought up, regardless of the little bit of meandering nature to this, there's some great stuff in here. There's some great one-liners from Freddy. I do think that the tone goes a little too comedic. Not so much to the direction of the cartoonish nature of Part 6, Freddy's Dead, the next movie, but I do think that it manages to go a little bit further than Part 4 did, which I kind of don't hate. I kind of don't hate that. I love it in Part 4. I think Part 4 gets that part of its atmosphere down perfectly. I think between the creativity and the dreamlike nature of this movie, mixed with that little bit more pushing along the comedic ball, it works. It culminates into a watchable, fun movie that I like, and I can see why most people would hate this one too. I don't get the hate for Part 4, I really don't. But this one I kind of get why the fans would split even more so down the middle over this movie. It's an interesting situation. So, I really like it. I get if you don't. I get if most people don't. But I really like it. I don't think it's as cheap as Freddy's Dead, the next film, like I said. But it's better, I think, in a lot of ways than people give it credit for. So overall, compared to all the issues I have, the next complaint that I have is really just this. There's a child actor in this film who I think really gets too much screen time. He's as bad as the kid from New Nightmare. That kid's worse because he's in it way more. But this kid just, it seems like he was in everything. I don't know who he is. He seems very familiar. I don't know if I've seen him in something else when he was older, or maybe some other films around that time. I don't know, but I don't particularly love his performance here. Again, it's better than the kid from New Nightmare, but we'll get there. So anyway, when it comes to Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, it has its flaws, it has issues. Do I hate it? Absolutely not. Do I love it? Absolutely not. It's just a fine, good movie, above average for sure in my opinion. Being a Nightmare on Elm Street film, having to have that creativity to be made to begin with at that time is what makes this special in my opinion. Having Robert Englund there makes it special in my opinion. Having the cast of kids that they had, that it seems to me like as time went on they got better and better for every movie. Maybe not better than Part 4 in this case, but I still like them a lot. I think they're good. I like that Lisa Wilcox came back to play Alice. They didn't just recast her like they did with Patricia Arquette because she didn't want to come back for Part 4. There's a lot of great here, and there's a lot of flaws. But do I like it more than Part 4? Like I said, no. Just absolutely not. But it's good. I recommend it. Have you seen Nightmare on Elm Street Part 5, The Dream Child? Do you love it? Do you hate it? I think the concept is a little wonky. Part 4's was as well, but I like that one a lot, the concept. I know why people don't like it. I get they dropped the ball there a little bit, but this is kind of an interesting way of looking at pregnancy. I think it's a really cool look into Freddy's life, his experiences, his childhood, things like that to an extent. Not fully, but to an extent that I'm slightly satisfied with. It's pretty neat. I like it. So if I had to rate this film on a 5-star basis, I would probably give it... I do think it's above average, but I think I'd still give it about a 3 out of 5 stars. It's a cool flick. I like it a lot. I think it's a really solid movie. Would I recommend it to everybody on the planet? No. I just wouldn't. Sorry, I wouldn't. What did you guys think about it? Did you love it? Did you hate it? Put your thoughts and comments down below. Do you like this more than Part 4? Part 4 and 5 and 6 kind of, to me, are almost like their own Thorn trilogy, even though they're not really connected that much outside of 4 and 5. And kind of 3. 3, 4, and 5 are more connected than 4, 5, and 6 are, so that's kind of its own thing. But which one do you like more out of those two, 4 and 5? I'd love to hear all that down below. Let me know your thoughts, let me know your complaints, all that stuff. Do you agree with me? Do you disagree with me? I'd love to hear all that too. Thank you guys for watching. God bless you. 3 out of 5 stars, but again, slightly more to a 4, but not really. Anyway, thank you guys for watching. God bless you. Goodbye.